27th, Monessen City Council meeting to order at 6:30. Could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Ordzikowski?
Here.
Mr. Nestor?
Present.
Mr. Greger?
Present.
Ms. Thomas?
Here.
Mr. Moser?
Present. At this time, I'd like to ask Pastor John Custer to start the meeting off with a short prayer. He's with the Orchard Christian Fellowship.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank you for this opportunity. It's a great honor to be able to pray here and talk to God. And so I have a simple, short prayer. Let me just invite you to pray with me as I pray here. Lord, tonight we recognize you are over this city. Thank you for giving us this place to live. I thank you for the great people who are in this room tonight here, interested enough to participate in their city's affairs. And I thank you for the leaders here who are brave enough to take on the work of leading this group of people. So I pray tonight what you asked me to pray for all of us here, for wisdom. That thing which brings riches and fills the treasuries and brings honor. We're not asking you tonight, Lord, to wave a hand and solve every single problem this night, but we do ask you for wisdom for every single one of us. I pray that this would prevail in our relations with one another as neighbors, right where we live, in all that we do here as leaders in the city, as citizens here, sitting here tonight. We pray for your thoughts, your guidance, your wisdom. We want to work smarter instead of harder. And so guide us, Lord. Let this city prosper. Let your blessing be upon it. And so the starting point we ask for tonight, that being wisdom. And we're asking for this. You told us to ask it. You give it liberally. So we're asking tonight. Pour it out upon all of us. We're asking this because of your great love and mercy, your great affection for the city and the people here within it. Amen.
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 Wonderful prayer.
Will we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to invite anybody that has comments for agenda items only.
My name's Ernie Telegraphist.
Ernie, I apologize for interrupting you. Do you mind just approaching the bench so you're recorded?
Oh, is it on? Okay, because all these years...
Yeah, you can just stand right there. Thank you so much, Ernie.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, I have two questions. The preacher just said something about wisdom. I want to know, why are we entertaining the first solid meeting of the new year? Why are we entertaining an undertaker named Mike Foreman? He's all about, what? Getting preparations to submit the city for a Act 47 bankruptcy. Now, are you people telling me you're throwing in the towel already without even trying to first invite other people that could help you people to straighten the budget out? So why are we shooting for the moon right off the bat, Act 47? Can you tell me that?
We're not.
Then why is he here?
To explain what the stamp program is.
Well, why don't you have someone else to explain how to get a tandem or something else, like get government funds to balance your books?
He was invited here to explain the options that the city has. We are members of the stamp program currently, I do believe.
Well, all I know is that should be the last resort, not the first agenda in the new year. That's all I know. Then I have another question. Again, the sole wisdom of this council. Why are you going to second the motion? And this got nothing to do with, because I don't even know Mike Foreman, nor This has nothing to do with the personality or my view of the person that I'm going to talk about. Why are you contemplating to vote for a code enforcer when he has a lawsuit against the city? I never heard that from anyone. No private company will ever hire anyone who has a lawsuit against their company. And you want to hire him as a code enforcer. So you're telling me we're down to very bare knuckles where we got no options. This whole world with all these 335 million Americans, we're down to A, thinking about bankruptcy, and two, we're down to one person?
Got any other comments?
I just want some answers. Could you answer the people who voted for these
First off, there is
guys?
no lawsuit against the city that I'm currently aware of.
He doesn't have a lawsuit?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, that's not what I heard.
Well, I'm sorry.
So,
Thank you for your time, Ernie.
Are there any other comments on agenda items only? At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the January 3rd, 2022 reorganization meeting minutes. They're included in the packet.
So moved, Mayor.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any comments, questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Moser?
Yes. Need a motion to approve the January 5th City Council meeting minutes.
So moved, Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Moser?
Yes. Lastly, I need a motion to approve the January 13, 2022 council work session meeting minutes.
So moved, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Moser?
Yes. At this time, I'd like to call Robert Tamburo from CMU to give us a little bit of explanation about what Monessen mobility means.
Hello, Robert Tamburo. I work at Carnegie Mellon. I'm here to talk about this project that was initiated about a year and a half ago between CMU and the city of Monessen. I left some handouts off for you. There's some extras over there if anyone in the audience wants some handouts. So this project started about a year and a half ago, like the whole process. And it kind of just became in reality, like and deployed in Monessen this past month. So my name is Robert. Like I said, I'm a senior project scientist at CMU. I'm a co-PI on the research grant that's funding this project. The PI could not make it today, he's teaching. But this is a project based at CMU between three different institutions, the Robotics Institute, the School of Architecture, and an organization called the Mobility 21 Center, which is the U.S. Department of Transportation Center at the university. So the goal of the project, a little bit about us. So like I said, I've been at CMU for about 10 years. I've done research at Intel Labs and UPMC doing medical image analysis. So the focus of my work is looking at images and trying to extract useful information out of it. Ray Gasto, who is the PI, he's the director of the Remaking Cities Institute, and what they do is focus on conducting research internationally about different ways to design cities and small communities to improve mobility. And mobility, what we're talking about is efficiently moving people and goods through the area, so in a timely manner. He used to be the former director of city planning of the city of Pittsburgh as well. So Mobility 21, a little bit of background about this organization is it's a center. It's called the University Transportation Center at CMU. It's one of only 5 centers across the country. It was funded by the Department of Transportation grant in 2016. And each center is unique. Ours is focused on improving mobility. That's what I'm here to talk to you today. So there's different areas of focus that include research and development. So that's developing new methodologies in the lab and then also deploying them in the real world. There's also a focus on education and workforce development. So that's, when new technologies come out, like we're seeing like stuff about self-driving cars, how do you train the next generation of mechanics to deal with these new systems. And then the last aspect of it is equity initiatives. So making sure that everybody in the community has accessibility to these mobility problems. So we have different partners to address all of these issues, like the University of Pennsylvania, Ohio State, and the Community College of Allegheny County. And they're developing new coursework and things to address these issues. So that's some of the background. So back in November or October of 2020, let me take a step back. So usually the way research works is we identify a problem and then we try to solve it. And what happens at universities sometimes is that research doesn't make it to the real world. The Mobility 21, they created this challenge. It's called the Smart Mobility Challenge. And they kind of switched it. They sent out a call out to municipalities in Southwest PA and said, do you have a problem with mobility? If you do, send us a statement describing the problem, and we'll try to match you up with researchers to create a project. So that happened in October of 2020. And then it took a couple of months of discussions with, at the time, people at Monessen. And then we identified like a research project, which I'll discuss very briefly in the next couple slides. So then we wrote up a proposal to Mobility 21, and it was awarded one of 3 projects selected, and that was announced in February 5th, 2021. So the research grant is $100,000 with another $100,000 in matching funds to basically conduct a research study, or actually call it like an engineering study. We did site visits in April to look around to see, just to get a feel for what Monessen is about and the situation. So the project itself, the goal is to, because we were under the impression, and it seemed like there was a comprehensive plan that was just finalized. So the initial goal was to work alongside Monessen and the goals set forth in the comprehensive plan related to issues of mobility, equity, and safety in the mid-downtown Monessen area. So we want to look at issues, assuming it's still of interest to everyone here, of pedestrian, bicyclist, wheelchair safety. Are the intersection signals optimized for maximum throughput of vehicles so that there's not a lot of congestion? We want to look at issues of equity, making the downtown accessible to people without a vehicle. Access to destination locations like the local businesses and the schools and the riverfront. And I guess ultimately is to try and hopefully make recommendations to revitalize the local business district here. So our approach is kind of twofold. So one, Ray Gasto, I told you about, he's an urban designer by nature, and what they tend to do is they have a set of best practices that they follow. So they look at the geometry of the street and different statistics that they can collect, such as accident reports. Look at different measurements off of GIS data. So we have an urban designer, and I'm like a computer vision person. So basically what I do is, and our lab does, is we look at images and videos, visual data, and take all those pixels of objects and then try and extract information. So the picture becomes statistics. So it could be anything from counting cars, counting people, to something more complex to flagging instances when a car hits another person, or hits another car, or someone falls down the intersection. So the goal here is to kind of combine these two approaches in a novel way where the urban designer has this additional data that's specific to Monessen and unique to Monessen and will directly address any issues that we discover. So like I said, this project officially started in July of 2021, but there were delays. So let me take a step back and then let everybody. So computer vision requires installing cameras so that we can capture data. And then we capture that data and then we process it. So the project officially started in July, and then due to various delays with supply chain issues and camera installation, we didn't actually get around to installing cameras until this January. And then the project's a year long, it ends in June, the last day of June, but we hope to continue past that. Let's see. So I'll just kind of, I don't want to take too much time, so I'll just kind of step you through what we're actually doing. So the plan is to install cameras, collect image data, transfer that data back to CMU, store it on a secure server, and then based on algorithms that we've developed, process those images and turn them into statistics, which we call visual analytics. And then based on that information, the urban planner will take that data, create recommendations in the form of a report, and deliver that to Monessen. And in the long term, we hope to continue like a partnership with you guys for acquiring longitudinal data so that you can learn how different activities on the street are evolving over time. And then so, like, what does visual analytics mean? So, like, I gave you a couple examples, but things of interest to most locations are they want to know how many vehicles pass through the intersection, how many people, how many bicyclists, where do people cross the street, when drivers pass through the intersection, which way do they go, how many people get on and off the bus. So these are all information that can be useful in terms of like trying to develop like a comprehensive plan on improving mobility. Another thing we can do is, which you can't get it like from the police department, you can get like accident reports, but you can't get near accident reports. And those are like clear indications that there might be some dangerous things happening at an intersection, for example. So we have methods to detect when a car almost hits another car, or a car almost hits another person. And these are all like statistics that help guide recommendations to improve mobility. So back in, I guess in March, I walked around with the then mayor and identified 2 locations to install cameras that were of interest. So 2 cameras on Donner Avenue, because it seems to be a very busy street, because there's a library, there's a grocery store, and local businesses. And then the second location was at the intersection of East Schoonmaker and 4th Street, because from what I understand, it's a pretty active intersection in terms of vehicles and pedestrian activity, because they've got a long staircase down the hill and there's a bus stop there. I think there's a couple schools in the area. So back in January, this location had to be moved up a block to 3rd Street because there were issues like getting power at the 4th Street intersection. So that 3rd camera is now at the 3rd Street intersection. So I have some videos that no one can see, so I'll skip that. So this isn't the first time we've done this type of project. We've worked with the city of Pittsburgh. We have cameras at 3 different locations in the city of Pittsburgh. One of the other projects that was funded through this Smart Mobility Challenge was up in Shaler, which we're part of, so we're putting cameras up there as well. But ultimately, when people, rightly so, hear about cameras and capturing data, the question of privacy comes up. So we have various procedures in place to preserve privacy of people on the street. So the first thing is we only capture images or videos. We never record audio. All of the data is stored on the secure server, like I mentioned. Only a handful of people have access to the cameras or the data, only people related to the project. What else? So we make no attempts to recover any personal information. So we just know that there's a person on the street. We don't know that it's Tom, that lives on the 3rd block of whatever, Schoonmaker. So it's just a matter of like turning images into numbers. We don't care about who's doing what. Any data that we publish, because we're at CMU, we write research papers and we have to show examples of things working. Any data that we publish, we intentionally blur out faces and license plates in the same way that Google Street View does, so that no one can know that what people are doing on the street. So that's all I have. I'm happy to entertain questions.
I have a question. Robert, I'd like to know, then Mayor Sharon told you that this was going to be a clandestine effort because none of the taxpayers in this city knew about those cameras. That is an invasion of privacy. Did he tell you that we should not know what you were going to do?
No, let's not worry about that.
I know.
I had nothing to do
We
with
were
it.
taken by surprise.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Other question.
Sure.
Who's gonna fund this?
It's funded through the U.S. Department of Transportation.
So they're gonna pay 100% of it?
Yes.
I have a question. Will that data help us put a traffic light back at Fifth Street and Donner?
It's probably a little too far for the cameras to see.
If it's at, you said it's at Third Street on Schoolmaker, but where is it on Donner?
It's between 3rd and 4th, like near the parking garage.
That can't see down to Fifth Street, which is the next street?
Oh, I see. Yeah, actually, probably.
Yeah, but
Is
would
that-
that
that's in
data
the
help
direction
us
of
get
the-
a traffic light back there?
Is that in the direction of the food lane?
That's a
Yeah.
PennDOT issue.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if it would help you. I mean, we could collect data, and then, I mean, ultimately, we make recommendations based on the data, and then the city of Monessen does what they want with the recommendations, so that's
Excuse me, Mr. Moser, was that PennDOT's decision to remove that?
I couldn't answer that. I wasn't paying attention to what happened there.
You said it was a PennDOT issue. right?
That's a PennDOT street, so PennDOT is the one that controls whether there's a stop sign there or a stop light or whatever the case may be.
Oh,
At the time, that was council's decision rather
Say
than
what?
council at the time.
Voted to remove the traffic light.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to invite Michael Foreman to explain. He's with the DCED, and I think he can pretty much explain why he's here and what purpose, what we can do.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to council, citizens of Monessen, about the Strategic Management Planning Program and the municipality's financial recovery program, and contrasting and comparing the two. By way of history, the Strategic Management Program was brought into being in 2008 as a mechanism or a tool or an instrument to try to stop and mitigate communities from falling into greater financial distress that would bring them into our Act 47 program. Before I go into that, I wanted to review the role of our department in the program, and I'm going to use the acronym STAMP, STMP, for Strategic Management Planning Program. The program offers a variety of opportunities for a municipality to participate and to implement recommendations. The series of steps that a STAMP report goes through first looks at the financial assessment or the financial condition of a municipality. And we did this with the City of Monessen by engaging a consultant that the City of Monessen and my department, DCED, in concert, felt it was the best fit for the city. So the first step, again, is looking at a financial condition or a financial assessment, not only currently, but going back 3 to 5 years to get some trend analysis. The next step deals with forward thinking with regard to projecting out what the financial projections will be for the next 3 to 5 years. In addition, if an emergency fiscal plan is required, then that would also become part of the product or the report deliverable. The next step is looking at what's called a management audit, which is really a review and an evaluation of all of the operating departments with regard to the delivery of municipal services, their policies and procedures, and the manner in which they carry out their operation. The final two steps look at multi-year adoption and multi-year implementation, because the report that's delivered, that's produced, really looks forward 5 years, providing a financial management plan, revenue projections, and also cost containment recommendations, as well as opportunities for community and economic development, shared service opportunities, as well as land use and zoning and other related activities to bring the city to a higher level of performance, which also could be characterized as tax-based growth and stability. That report was produced about 5 years ago and presented to a former council. From that process, several recommendations were implemented with funding provided not only by our department, but a local cash match of 10% by the city of Monessen. We are statutorily not permitted to lower the local cash match to less than 10%. And the theory behind it is that if the community is getting something for free, it may not take as seriously or sincerely ownership of the process, its involvement, and the opportunity to implement recommendations. What we have partnered with the city to undertake is the following. The first was a grant to help develop and adopt a comprehensive plan, which deals with a multifaceted elements of the community. It looks at transportation, as the professor from CMU related. It also looks at community services. It looks at land use practices. It also looks at infrastructure and other elements that focus on tax-based growth, stability, and attractiveness with regard to bringing more private sector investment into the community, as well as nonprofit involvement and municipal involvement and government involvement as a partnership. That report, that plan, I understand, was adopted and will be used as a tool to advance the city's initiatives to strengthen their ability to operate going forward. We also provided the city with a manager salary benefits subsidy grant for a 3-year period to help underwrite the cost of a city administrator. That grant has now been used up, as has the funds for the comprehensive plan. So this STAMP program offers a community, in partnership with us, the opportunity to implement recommendations that the city can use to advance its current state of affairs. We also provided technical assistance with regard to the selection process for the city administrator back when the plan was completed. And again, we helped fund that salary. We served as a neutral, impartial facilitator, taking the council through the process that ideally and actually the cream would rise to the top, identifying a prime candidate for the city to appoint as their administrator, working with city council and staff and the citizens. These plans are 5 years in scope. We're offering the city an opportunity to not only revisit what implementation has not occurred yet in the plan that has basically come to some, I wouldn't call it expiration, but at least some point in time where it needs to be revisited, to look at a new 5-year financial management plan. Because current conditions and circumstances change that require looking anew. Plus we have a new council. Other grants could potentially be afforded to the city that not only include what would be in the updated plan, but also recommendations that are in the comprehensive plan that the city needs to kind of circle back and look at to see what makes sense to rank and prioritize what we would like to help partner as well as other agencies to implement. looking at the municipality's financial recovery program, that is a much more intensive and much more stringent program that we would be involved in. The criterion in the statute, known as Act 47, has 11 elements in it, that only one, if it exists and is serious enough, can trigger a potential designation of distress. Before I go into them in summary, I want to say that when we look at a community that petitions our department to consider a determination of distress, we look at, can the municipality pull itself up by its own bootstraps within its own resources, that we can also help buttress or supplement or build upon. The city of Monessen has not requested, nor do I believe will imminently request it. My sense is that we will work with the city through the strategic management planning program going forward. However, to finish my thought on the criterion in the statute of what could trigger a determination of distress, in summary, it would be multi-year deficits, missing a payroll for at least 30 days, failing to forward withholding taxes 30 days beyond the due date, defaulting on any type of debt, failing to make your minimum municipal obligation payment to your employee pension plans within the year in which it is due, also being at your maximum real estate tax for general purposes, and conversely having to quantifiably reduce municipal services. That is not the only criterion we look at when we are requested to come in and do a field report to document and validate or not whether the allegations that are in the petition are real or not. We also look at other factors such as the condition of pension plans, the condition of infrastructure, the ability to hire people or only hire part-time people due to a lack of funds. We also look at depleting fund balance. We also look at the bankability, if that's a word, of a community to be able to borrow money. A recovery plan, in conclusion, provides mandated recommendations that must be implemented that not only look at labor costs, which is a central piece to any municipal budget, but also ways to enhance revenue, ways to contain costs, looking at, again, community and economic development opportunities, land use policies to create investment, as well as shared service opportunities. So there is some similarities between STAMP and Act 47 with regard to the elements of a recovery plan or a STAMP report. But the distinction is the seriousness of a community coming into Act 47. Initially, when a community comes in, they have 5 years to work with a recovery plan to come out of the program. If they are not able to come out of the program after we do a financial analysis, where they are after 5 years, we have the ability to bring them into what's called an exit plan for a 3-year period. At the end of that period, we look at whether or not they can support or rationalize an 18-month extension. After that, they must come out. In between any and all of these 5-year, 3-year, or 18-month time frames, if it happens where a fiscal emergency occurs, where the community is insolvent, or chooses not to implement a recovery plan, or chooses not to adopt a recovery plan, we have the ability to trigger bringing in a receiver, like a school district could have under a different state law, the public school code, when school districts become solvent. So that is a summary presentation between STAMP and Act 47. We encourage the city to continue to work with us, which they've made overtures to do within the STAMP environment, which I think will bear fruit for the city going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Michael, the STAMP, is that what it was whenever you and I was involved in early intervention? Your name Michael?
Yes. Sorry, Lou, I didn't hear. I hear it.
The STAMP program, that was whenever you and I was involved with early intervention. Is that what it is?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Back when the city came into the program, it was called the Early Intervention Program. However, the legislature in 2019 changed the name to Strategic Management Planning Program to give it a more generic appeal. Because early intervention had a stigma that communities felt a little resistant to participate in. So thank you, Lou, for that clarification. So now it's STAMP, Strategic Management Planning Program, which I think is a little more generic. Not only in its name, but its outcome. So it's a partnership program that we want to continue to work with the city on. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, is Dave Barbie here? Yeah, if you would, please.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. A little bit of background on myself and my family. We're born and raised here. Family's been in business in the Valley since the 50s. Dad migrated here to play hockey in Pittsburgh, met my mom. My brother has a Subway in Charleroi. Dad had a Coca-Cola company with Mom. Son has a restaurant in Charleroi. I own 4th Street Foods. In late 1990, I developed a product with Jimmy Dean. It was a Jimmy Dean breakfast bowl, which you've probably heard of. It's taken off. We do all the bowls for Jimmy Dean. We do them for Walmart. Do for Save-A-Lot, Aldi, Lidl. Also, nationwide, all the sandwiches for Walmart. They all come out of the Valley, all for Aldi, all for Save-A-Lot. I have a little bit of no COVID, just but we've grown substantially. I employ 1,200 people. I'm in 5 different buildings. I'm in Spears, Bentleyville, up here in Craven Hill. A lot of the Valley people work as mechanics. They work as technicians, truck drivers, QA directors. And recently, we've had to bring in a lot of staffers from other countries. Many of them have been here since 2005. And they work in other places in the Valley. They work for Model Cleaners, for Quality Pasta, myself. I think some work at Valley Tire. It's been hard to get employees. And we need about 700 or 800 of them. The fly in the ointment was, after the pandemic, it was very hard to, it was easy at that time to bring people in and watch over them, but then everybody needed people. So in order to keep them here, I've had to provide housing, and that way I would stay a step ahead of Giant Eagle, Costco, because they would not pay the housing. So I put them in hotels in the beginning, and I found out I was going to go broke. So I bought 35 homes in Charleroi, some very bad, some good. I remodeled them from the ground up. To make it short and sweet, I'm my own housing director. I have local companies that do all my work, contractors. In Charleroi, we work not only with council members, but with the police department, work with the fire department, Bobby Whiten, of course, now it's, I think it's Jeremy. And we watch over these workers. They have various forms of identification. These are not people you see running across the border. You know, these are people that have been in the New York restaurants that have worked and are looking for other work, so they've come and they've liked the Valley. Recently, I've been given an opportunity by Lori Spina. She has 2 homes in Monessen. And I just was wondering what the thoughts would be. We don't jam them into homes. I provide all new appliances, all new beds. We watch over them. And I want to do some things in Monessen. That's the reason I'm here. But being straight up, I want to look in the eye and tell you this is what I like to do. But if it bothers the community, I grew up here, and the community, our area was built by people from everywhere, and it's, we provide classes for language services for them now. We have child care programs. We make sure the houses are maintained, all the taxes, I pay all the taxes, all the refuse, snow removal, and it's worked out pretty well. But I'm here just to get a feeling of how everybody would feel if I would do some things in Monessen. I understand there was a problem early on with another agency that had a house on the hill. I was not aware of it and was not one of my, was not the people that, that I was aware of. So,
Just a question, I apologize for interrupting you. I was just wondering, are these employees underneath the I-90? Their I-90 completed?
What do you mean by it? What's the I-90?
I-90 is a document form that tells the government either if they're a residential green card holder
They
or
have
their
various
status of,
right.
of immigration. I only know that because my wife's an immigrant as well, family's immigrants, so I just want to make sure that everything's up to snuff, and this is just a holding of an issue.
Well, the agencies screen them, and we also...
I know at 90 you have to fill that out
right.
at your facility.
Well, they would fill it out, the agency.
Yeah, but you complete it, and well, I guess these are contractors then,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. What I do is I make sure they have various forms of identification, and we have it all on file.
Okay.
I mean, and occasionally somebody slips through and they get on, we put them on a bus and they're gone if we have trouble with it. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but another question is this you housing them, or is this the contracting company that you work with housing your employees?
Well, these employees that need housing, some of them have been here for years and have homes in Lock 4 and other places, Denora and that. The ones that I provide homes for, the agency pays $100 to $150 a person a month. I pay personally the other half of it to maintain and upkeep. I own the homes, if that's what you're saying. Yeah,
well, my question too is the mobility of the employee. You said you watch them. What do you mean by as watching them?
Well, you'll get a call that, first of all, we have to watch them during the day when they're working. And we might get a call that we had a disturbance. They know that the police department knows to call us, or if there's a code violation, they call our housing director. Last week there was a gas leak that was reported. We were on site within 5-10 minutes.
I just want to make sure that their mobility is not restricted, that they have rights to access of needs, health care, and the mobility of the city of, going to food land and not have to be worried if,
We all have vans.
Yeah,
we have over 40 vans in Charleroi. They buy everything off the shelves in the dollar stores. They shop. They have a special section now at Walmart. They've developed for the foreign workers. Yeah, they do have mobility.
I just want to make sure that they can go around. They don't have to worry about that. They have to ask someone's permission just to walk down
no.
Oh
Oh my God, no.
Thank you.
No.
I appreciate.
I want to say this to you.
Yeah.
They're probably the biggest donors in the churches. I mean, they're very hard for me to get them on Sundays. I mean, they dress up like the old days. And they go to church and spend money. But that's what I'm here for. Hopefully you guys could entertain it, talk amongst yourselves. And,
You're talking about 2 homes in Monessen?
yes.
How many people in each home?
We put 2 per bedroom, as long as the code says we can. There's a family, plus there's maybe 3 or 4 other people that live with them. If you have 4 bedrooms, you have 8 people. We follow all the codes.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I
appreciate it. Thank you.
The homes you're looking at, I believe, 1427 up on Rock Street.
There's one at 1427 and one at 220.
220.
Yes.
The one up on Rock Street, a very nice looking house, David. I think that you're doing well with purchase a house like that. And the one 220 is right up against the high rise.
Yes, sir.
I imagine you will probably help renovate that house to some degree too.
I put a lot of money. You can also call Bobby Whiten or Jeremy and Charleroi if you want to, and they'd entertain your calls. I've taken some of the homes I'd have to put as much as 70, 80 grand in them.
Gee.
Yeah, I have. I mean, but of course-
1427 looks like it has been remodeled though.
Yeah, Lori's done a nice job in upkeeping it, yeah. But you know, some of the homes you buy, I bought one off of, I'm taking too much time, or?
No, please.
I bought one off of, I think it was John Mascara from Charleroi. And it's, you know, some of them that I bought, I've had to, it was an old home, and I remodeled it from the bottom up, and I put a lot of money in. But, you know, I know what it is to, you have to live well. You know, not live well like living well, but not to be, you know, laying on a mattress in the middle of the street, you know.
Yes.
But I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
At this time, Jerry, do you have the treasury report?
Yes, I do, Mayor. Mayor, members of council, and citizens of Monessen. This is the year-end tax report from the Treasurer's Department. The garbage fees. December, we collected $8,174.68. Year-to-date, $334,603.12. Budget amount was $370,000. Delinquent, we collected $4,188.51, courting off of $2,263.51. Year-to-date, collected $124,018.85, courting off collected $45,736.16. And interest and penalties from Portnoy came to $2,075.54. The budget amount was $120,000. Garbage Housing Authority, Westmoreland County. Year-to-date, we received $61,035. Budget amount was $80,000. Total amount budgeted was $570,000. Garbage fees collected for 2022, December $51,830. Year-to-date, $147,834.76. Budget amount $60,000. City real estate taxes revenue. City real estate taxes current, December $29,243.65. Year-to-date, $2,087,864.91. The budget amount was for the general fund, $1,457,000. Debt service funds, $500,000. Parks received $250,000. Library received $50,000 for the library, for a total of $2,257,000. Delinquent city taxes. City taxes prior year collected, nothing this month. Year-to-date, $3,612.14. Budget amount, $9,100. Portnoy, we received nothing this month. City taxes collected by Westmoreland County. This month, $51,581.04. Year-to-date, $270,000, $954.75. Budget amount, $210,000. Total taxes paid year-to-date, $2,362,431.80. This represents 94% of the collection rate. City real estate taxes distribution. General fund received $1,525,061.22. Debt service fund received $523,356.62. Parks received $261,678.31. Library received $52,335.65 for a total of $2,362,431.81. The millage rate for 2021 was $1 million, which was equal to $58,430.63. The 2022 amount is $1 million, or $1 mil, equal to $57,722.22. The millage is calculated by the county. Real estate transfer tax. Received nothing in December. Year-to-date, $69,946.55. Budgeted amount for 2021 was $60,000. Earned income tax. December, we received $63,056.07. Year-to-date, $594,426.12. Budgeted amount was $650,000. Mercantile tax. December, we received $173.93. Year-to-date, $29,411.52. Budget amount, $28,000. Local service tax. December, we received $4,074.08. Year-to-date, $64,258.85. Budget amount was $77,000. Tax certification. December, $2,370. Year-to-date, $23,760. Budget amount, $22,000. Municipal lien letters, $2,025. Year-to-date, $16,950. Budget amount for the year, $16,500. Line usage fee. December, we received nothing. Year-to-date, $10,000. No, these are unsecured payments. I'm sorry. Unsecured payments for line usage fee. Year-to-date, $10,620. Line usage fee. December, we received $68,218.09. Year-to-date, we received $958,217.29 for a total of $837.29. Mayor, that concludes my report. Also, in each packet, each councilman, and you should have had, I handed these to you, the city real estate taxes from the year 2010 to 2021. When I started doing this a couple of years ago, I said at the end of each year I would send you a report on how our comparison was throughout the years. Also on that, we have a Berkenheimer collections from 2010 to 2021. Those are complete. And we also have the delinquent garbage collections amount from 2006 to 2021. Those should all be in your packets. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you. I know that we've had a little bit of an issue with a city administrator. I'm not sure the city controller really has her report. Do you? With that, we'll proceed with our old business. Oh, I'm sorry. Solicitor's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the agenda, you'll see a first reading for an ordinance that will amend the budget. City Council has the ability to do that beginning in January. The ordinance must be passed by February 15th. Public notice is provided for 10 days. There's sufficient time to get that ordinance advertised. A copy of the new budget and ordinance will be here in City Hall. A couple issues with the sewage project. The first was the city was required to obtain property rights for 3 parcels of property where the sewage lines are going to be placed or are currently located. 2 of them are easements. One of those easements have previously been recorded. We're waiting on the second easement. The third, you'll see on the agenda, there is a parcel of property that will be acquired by the city. This is a vacant property on Knox Avenue, located across the street from 9th Street Park. There is I believe, a 42-inch sewage line that kind of bisects the parcel. And it's absolutely necessary for that part of the project. The USDA loan interim financing, that looks like it will be closing at the end of March, beginning of April. Saw some emails flying around there. And for everybody's recollection, that's the $15 million interim loan from PNC Bank, and I think the city will see their finalized offer here in the next couple of days. Bond Council has already prepared the Local Government Unit Debt Act ordinance that will be required, and there will be a filing with DCED. Also on the agenda, you'll see that the city was awarded a Penvest loan for $2,000,000 $2.37 million at 1% interest over 20 years. There's a big settlement checklist that the city will have to upload documents through my office, here in City Hall, the engineers, to complete the closing for that. There'll be a call, I believe, next Tuesday, February 1st, to kick things off with Penvest. I took a look at the tax forgiveness program. Mr. Mosier and I met with the County Tax Claim Bureau to see what their issues were. They do have some pretty significant issues with this plan. A lot of these properties are in the process of being sold through tax sales. The way the plan's situated today, it's not exactly consistent with that plan. And it's been previously discussed here at these meetings that there's potential for some of these new owners to actually lose properties that they may or may not have spent money on because maybe the former owners didn't disclose the status of those delinquencies. The next step in the process is meeting with the school district to address their issues with the plan and come up with some sort of joint agreement so this can be facilitated going forward and appropriately and consistent with what the county needs to do for their delinquent tax sales. You also see a first reading for Ordinance 1257. That's repealing Ordinance 1244, which provided the administration with the ability to spend up to $11,500. Council would like to go in a new direction from that, and it's more appropriate to set those spending limits, the delegation anyways, to the administrative staff through a resolution. Financial circumstances can change, and perhaps it's been discussed here that there's a spending freeze right now, but things could change and it's easier to amend a resolution. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Now it's my turn. Everybody knows that I've been involved with video systems for a number of years, and there's a story behind that which I won't go into right now. But when I became mayor, it became very much a concern whether doing anything in the city with the video system would be a conflict of interest. So I wrote a letter to the State Ethics Commission, and they responded. It took them quite a while. It took them almost a month to respond, but they did respond. And the question was, would an individual serving as mayor of the city of Monessen, who is in private capacity, has business name Crystalline Technology, LLC, have conflict of interest under Section 1103A of the Public Official Employee Ethics Act, 65 PA 1103A, with regard to volunteering his services to correct issues involving the city's video surveillance camera system and no charge to the city? And their answer was, in brief, no. Section 1103 of the Ethics Act, which imposes restrictions upon an individual in his capacity as a public official, i.e. the city mayor, and not in private capacity, would not prohibit the individual from volunteering his services to correct issues involving the city's video surveillance camera system and no charge to the city. So hence, I will work to get the video system back online, working within the city. And to that end, I would like to work with you as well, because we do have a lot of cameras around that could be used in your study, probably to good work. So that complete report, I'd be happy to provide to anybody that's interested in it, but hopefully this puts to bed any issues with regard to that. Let's see, we, as I've been saying, are in bad need of a city administrator. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Honorable Mayor, motion to advertise for a city administrator at prevailing newspaper addressing all western Pennsylvanians at a starting salary range from $50,000 to $65,000 per year based on experience.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? I'd like to make one comment. I would like to work very much with Mike Foreman to assure that we are advertising appropriately, properly, in the proper venue to find us a city administrator.
Right, and I think to broaden the net, you may want to look at statewide publication
of the manager advertisement.
We'll defer that to you.
And also, I'd like to review it before it goes public, before it's published. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go to second.
Is there any other questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Sergeant Lois? Ms. Thomas?
yes,
We have the first reading of ordinance 1255. Would somebody like to make a motion for the second reading?
Motion to approve second reading of ordinance number 1255, an ordinance of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, persuading to the Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement Act as amended, authorizing and directing that the appropriate officers execute and deliver an agreement to be date as of December 1st, 2021, ban and amongst this borough, the City of Monessen, and the Mon Valley Refuge Disposal Authority, and ratifying such execution and delivery and fixing the condition of the agreement, the duration of the term of the agreement, the purpose and objects of the agreement, including the powers and scope of the authority delegated in the agreement, the matter and extent of the financing the agreement, the organizational structure necessary to implement the agreement, and such other powers as that may be deemed relevant for the purposes of carrying on the functions as may be necessary for business-like execution of the purpose of this agreement.
Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes. I'd like to, well,
Mayor, motion to adopt ordinance number 1255.
is there a second?
Second.
second,
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to approve first reading of ordinance number 1256, an ordinance of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending ordinance 1252,
Appropriate.
I can't read it, I'm sorry. Appropriating specific sums estimated to be required for the specific purposes of the municipal government hereinafter set forth during the year 2022.
Second, Mayor.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Mayor, motion to approve the advertising of ordinance number 1256 in the Mon Valley Independent.
Is there a second?
Second.
second,
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
A motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 1257, an ordinance of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, repealing ordinance of number 1244, establishing rules and regulations for the purchase of supplies, parts, equipment and maintenance, vehicle maintenance, and day-to-day operations and necessities, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to approve advertising of ordinance number 1257 in the Mon Valley Independent.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to advertise for the RFP for CDBG consultant.
Is there a second?
Second.
second,
Any questions?
Don't we have a contract with Hagler for till 2024?
No, it's up in March.
It's up in March.
Yeah.
Do we have a problem with Mr. Hagler, or you just,
No,
in general?
he needs to respond to this.
Okay, just asking.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to advertise RFP for auditing services for the 2021 audit.
Is there a second?
second,
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Mayor, motion to accept Pinvest financing in the amount of $2,003,000, oh, I'm sorry, $2,003,070, oh, sorry, $370,000 at 1% interest for the period of 20 years in relation to Phase 4 of the sewage rehabilitation project. Sorry.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? I would like to point out that that works out to about $3 of the line usage money per person. Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Mayor, motion to authorize WEC to prepare specific, sorry, no, I'm trying to interrupt you, sorry. All right, Mayor, motion to authorize WEC to prepare specifications in place of Phase 4 of the sewage rehabilitation project out to bid.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to approve the purchase of 920 to 922 Knock Avenue, partial ID 2002060181 from Maurice L. Rice and Rella M. Rice for $2,000 for use of the property for the installation of a sewage line as part of the Phase 4 of the sewage rehabilitation project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to appoint Billy Hans to the Redevelopment Authority to fulfill the term vacated by Mr. Ron Moser, expiring on 12/31/22.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to appoint Pino is it Canafone?
That's fine, just be.
I just want to make sure the paper gets it right. To the Mon Valley Refuge Authority for a 5-year term concluding 12/31/2026.
Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion
Thank
to,
you.
I'm sorry. Motion to appoint Alan Duncan Sr. to the Police Account and Internal Affairs Board for a 5-year term ending 12/31/26.
Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to appoint Lillian Hurst to the Environmental Advisory Board to fulfill a vacant position ending 12/31/2025.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to reappoint Frank Lopresti to the Blight Property Review Board for a 5-year term ending 12/31/26.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Questions on the motion? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to appoint Joe Bozick to the Public Library Board for a 3-year term ending 12/31/24.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions on the motion? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to reappoint Darrell Ray to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term ending 12/31/25.
I'll second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to hire Bailey Adams to satisfy the requirement of prison watch at the rate of $9 an hour with a 2-hour minimum.
Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to hire Buzzy Byron as plumbing inspector at the rate of $1,500 per year, paid $375 quarterly.
Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Any questions?
Yeah, what does the plumbing inspector do?
Well, it fulfills the role of plumbing inspection during the code, for code enforcement.
That's in code?
Yes.
Okay.
Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes. For our Director of Accounts and Finance,
After all that. Okay. Good evening. Mayor, I have a motion to pay bills from the general fund totaling $60,737.10.
is there a second on the motion?
Second, Mayor.
Any questions?
Now, for everybody, you have, or if you did pick it up, you may have the sheet here. It was up front there. There's a whole list of, there's a stack of them if you didn't get them. This stack incorporates what's due since November, December, January, and starting in February. So some of these you will find on here. Oh, I'm sorry, let me take it back. All of these you will find on here. They just may not be right down the rows as you're getting them. They are Herald Standard for $45.56, Herald Standard for $84.13, Trib Total Media for the amount of $285, Xerox Financial for the amount of $294.14, PA One Call for $7.30, Shamrock Chemical Company in the amount of $154, Guardian Protection in the amount of $41.48, Mon Valley Independent in the amount of $1,079.25, Armory Locksmiths in the amount of $638.75, Hill International Trucks in the amount of $13,744.75, West Penn Power 1010, West Penn 1309, 1337, 1442, 2120, 3697, 11834, Peoples in the amount of $244.57. Again, West Penn for $564.65, $7.46. Dominion Energy, $231.72, $568.28. Mon Valley Sewage Authority is $81, $81, $81, $81, $87.78, and $81 again. WB Mason for $479.84. UPMC Health Plan for $24,884.50. PA Connect is the amount of $859.95. West Penn Power again is $10,262.27. WEX Bank is in the amount of $2,523.80. ASME Health and Welfare Fund is the amount of $1,016.40. And Hill International Trucking again for the amount of $1,007.96. Now, the other reason I ask, if you choose to, and if you don't, I guess you make my life a lot easier, even though I won't talk all night. I broke them down this way, so if you have specific questions of a particular line item or a bill, you can ask it and know what it is.
I have a question for you. 2 weeks ago, you said you were left with $9,000 in the budget. How are you paying all these bills now?
Let me get to it. Let me get to it. So we have a motion and a second.
We have a second.
We have a
Any other
second.
Yes. Is there any other questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Aye.
Okay, Mayor, I have a motion to pay bills from the Parks Fund in the amount of $161.28. They are $7.54 West Penn Power, $12.75, $13.27, $16, $29.22, and Mon Valley Sewage Authority for $82.50.
Do I have a second?
Second, Mayor.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Aye.
Mayor, I need a motion to pay bills from Recreational Fund in the amount of $672.59, and they consist of Dominion Energy for $502.08, Comcast for $89.51, and Mon Valley Sewage for $81.
Do I have a second?
Second, Mayor. Well, we'll give that to Lois, Mayor. Sorry.
Any questions? I have one, just out of curiosity. The Comcast bill for $89.51, I thought we had a, we must have used all of our ones that we got for nothing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Aye.
Okay, that was the easy part. Now comes the part, Mr. Telegraphist had a question before and some other stuff. These are the balances, as of today, that are in the different accounts. The ARP balance, which is the American Recovery Plan, is $170,468.12. Debt services, which is to pay our bond, is $67,572.23. Fire escrow has $54,044.83. Grant fund has $21,689.20. The healthcare has $10,731.27. Line usage has $79,538.86. Liquid fuels has $932.25. Payroll currently has $7,639.12. Parks has $18,289.36. Recreational Board has $4,352.70. The general fund itself has $130,375.59. Now, having said that, if you look at this, and I apologize for not having the time to add it all up, I've done it so many times that I lose track in the middle and I got to start all over again. But these bills being due, past due, and ready to be past due, total over $170,000. We have $130,000 in the general fund. We have we take that back. We have $7,000 in payroll. The payroll will be next Thursday. Payroll is roughly $67,000 to $68,000. You do the math.
Well, how are you gonna do it?
How I'm doing it? We are taking what I've talked to council, and what I've been doing is taking the things like insurance and employees and lights and heat and only paying those right now.
Take it out of the land usage.
No,
You can't.
we're not doing that again. But some of the things that hurt, that are also coming due, that aren't on this sheet that we just got in, is we just got some bills from the law firm that handled the wiretapping / redevelopment authority incident that happened last year or the year before. No, it was last year, I'm sorry. Those legal bills total $48,744.50. That is not something we could turn into our insurance broker and pay the deductible of $10,000. We are on the hook for all $48,000 of it.
So what is the status of those lawsuits?
Council last meeting dismissed the firms.
In other words, their money was wasted.
I'm only reporting to you what has to be reported. And we're getting stuff we get bills every day. One thing that we have done with Councilman Thomas's help and the rest of council, all of council, is that if you notice, and this goes hands out to the street guys, you notice the streets are clean. We have ordered a total of 800 tons of salt, close to that, probably in the last week and a half. That's a priority. Keep your streets clean, so when you get up in the morning, you can go to work.
I'd like to make a comment on that $48,000. When I came into office in 2020, we received a bill from the current solicitor's law firm for $40,000 after the New Year. That does happen.
Would you like me to explain why?
No, I'm just telling you what we did.
It was for, I think 7 months, something like that.
And that's fine, but we received that bill after the New Year. Unfortunately, the same thing happened here. And at the time, we felt it was necessary to look into. But once I don't know if I should go into it, the reason why it wasn't worth going into, so I will not. And I will defer to your judgment. I voted to do away with it because there was no point. There was a reason that we retained those lawyers. There was a reason. I can't go into it.
Okay, let's move on.
So we are going to, I'm going to make every opportunity, every meeting, we give a breakdown like I try to now. You will have this. Hopefully this will get smaller, and hopefully it doesn't grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I will update this sheet, so if you were to come next council meeting, there'll be things that will strike through that you know that we're paying.
Did you take into account the garbage collection?
Let's wait till the public comments for that.
So who's on the subject?
You want to do number 4?
Sure. Motion to pay WEC $100,000 from the American Rescue Plan to be reimbursed upon receipt of funding for the sewage project.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
No, I do have a comment on it. I believe, and I want to make sure I'm correct on this figure, but we currently owe WEC $350,000. So this $100,000 may sound like a lot of money, but it's nowhere close to it. And when the Penvest comes in and everything else, we'll get taken back and get reimbursed. But, you know, they're doing all this work, which was a ton of work, and holding patiently, waiting, saying, we believe in you. We know we'll get paid. And that's a hell of a belief if you own a business, to be honest with you.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Kreger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Moser?
Aye.
Motion to reject the sale of repository property by the Westmoreland County Tax Bureau, Claim Bureau, 2002-03-0168 at 130 Donner Avenue for the amount of $1,600.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Let me explain a little bit. In fact, I'm going to ask Joy to explain this a little bit.
And I probably should have done this during my solicitor report when we were talking about the tax forgiveness program. This property was in the county repository sale, meaning anybody can go in there and place a bid to purchase that property. Well, the current owner was part of the tax forgiveness program, meaning, and there was a bid on this property that wasn't the current owner, meaning that individual could have lost this property. So that's the recommendation of the County Tax Claim Bureau to reject this sale. And you'll see the next motion, there will be a motion to accept 2 sales.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Kreger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Motion to accept the sale of the repository properties by the Westmoreland County Tax Claim Bureau at 2002, 03, 0, 182, 155 Spoonmaker Avenue in the amount of $200.
Is there a second?
You can read both A and B in conjunction with one another.
Here.
I didn't get that far. And 2002, 10, 0, 52, 1319 Sycamore Street in the amount of $1,611.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Kreger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes.
Mr. Moser?
Yes. Your turn, John.
Honorable, excuse me, sorry about that. Honorable Mayor, members of council, I have some reports. I currently do not have any reports from both code, EMS, and fire, but I'm sure that'll happen down the pike. But I'll do the motions first, Mayor, and then I'll go ahead in my report if that's fine with you. Mayor, motion to extend offer of employment to Marvin Davis on a part-time basis at will with no benefits as code officer at the rate of $16 an hour.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr.
Excuse me. Question.
Okay.
Part-time basis, how many hours is that? 29 hours, 25 hours, whatever?
Because he's no benefits, he said he worked whatever was required.
29 hours, up to 29 hours.
Not 40 hours.
He has health care already. That's the issue.
So you're offering full-time?
No.
No. He's part-time to take care of the business at hand. When there's work to be done, he will do it, at whatever time it takes.
So even if he goes over full-time hours,
You're just going to pay him an hourly rate?
I'm going to pay him an hourly rate.
Okay.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Kreger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Mayor, motion to advertise the civil service exam for the police department.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Call the roll. Any questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Kreger?
Aye.
Ms. Thomas?
yes,
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Mayor, just a report of what I've been up to. Just spoke with Julian earlier this month about using the Civic Center as an emergency cool warm shelter in the event of emergency. Visited the city clerk's office to retrieve any data related to the tax forgiveness properties. Met with Councilwoman Thomas to review and submit the Community Development Block Grant COVID survey, which was due on January 25th. The questions were associated with how the funds would positively impact the city. Some of the questions were which categories do these unmet needs fall under? I put, economic development, public service, housing, public infrastructure. It asked to please provide additional information to explain your answer. I addressed it as avoid or revise job loss within our community and the city employees, to strengthen infrastructure needs that place our community and our vulnerable safety risks, respond to living conditions and rehabilitation in our city, or to acquire, rehabilitate, and enable permanent housing, where such housing is not significant during the pandemic. I attended the local emergency coordinator's bi-monthly meeting via Zoom, where the meeting went over with hazard mitigation, the upcoming weather, and upcoming exercises and training. I also would like to meet with our city emergency coordinator, the municipal fire, our municipal chiefs within the city, director of public property down there, and the mayor to coordinate and construct an emergency command center exercise. This is when everyone is made available and the weather is in our favor. I also would like to thank Chief Heppel and City Emergency Coordinator Michael Single for the rapid response, diligence, and resolve for last night's power outage. Thank you, Chief. Your Mayor, I yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Lois, would you like to say anything?
Can they hear me okay, or should I have somebody else read my report?
I think you've got it pretty well.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Our Streets Department report for the month of December 2021. But first, I'd like to just give thanks out to all the Public Works Department for the great job they've been doing with us, especially with the snow removal. Just to remind everyone that, just to be aware that the first main thing is to clear the main street, then it would be our secondary streets, and then alleyways. So if it's a significant amount of snowfall and you normally park in your alley, the best thing to do is get your car out of the alley if you can, because that is the last place they will snowplow salt, will be the alleyway. So just wanted to remind you about that. But they emptied garbage cans throughout the city twice a week, answered 10 PA1 calls, and this is for the month of December, put up several new signs, cold packed several streets, took care of resident complaints, collected leaves for the leaf collection during the month of December. Weather permitting, they sweep or clean streets and help the Parks Department as needed. Also, just a brief report for the library and for 2021 statistics, they had 9,843 items were checked out of Monessen patrons. 10,186 Monessen items were checked out at the other system libraries. 16,004 people went through the library in the year of 2021. They have the 2022 library budget available on the library website. The 2021 state annual report will be turned in by March, and the 2021 audit will be sometime this spring, submitted by Dave Bilkett, director. And there was no RDA business in the month of January because of the lack of quorum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lois. John, would you like to give us a report on your parks?
Yeah, park report for December 2021. Picked up leaves and debris in the park, cleaned the Civic Center, did a lot of maintenance in the new City Hall, moved files from old City Hall to new City Hall, put new lights in the city garage, got the streets department as needed. Also, I have a note on here that they tried to do snow removal down at the city park walking track. That is all. Thank you, John.
Thank you. That concludes the old business that we acted on. So now what we're going to do is talk about some of the business that we anticipate acting on in the coming meetings. And I'd like to invite a little discussion concerning the DCED stamp program versus Act 47. And I want to say something about that for just a moment here in response to Ernie and some of the questions that people have. I've been mayor for 24 days. 24 days. Give me a chance. That's all I ask. I have no intention of going Act 47. That is not my intent, never was, never will be. I have been working with a number of people that I will be introducing to Monessen that I think will bring great things to this city. It will never be the steel town that it once was, but it can be a lot better than it is today, and I really intend to do that. I can't remember the last time a capital project was done in Monessen that wasn't funded by CDBG. We need to change that. We need to figure out new ways to drive the city, new tax dollars to move it forward, and so forth. And I do have some plans. I do think that we can do it. We can pull it off. Now, that said, it was a blow when I took office. On the very first day of office, I find out we had something shy of $19,000 and a payroll the very next day of some $80,000. And to that end, I called Mike Foreman, and we had a discussion. And realistically, he said, this is an emergency. You have no other options than to borrow money from the line usage fund. And against the recommendations of our solicitor, in a big way, or with a lot of caution that he gave us, this council put individually ourselves on the line to come up with a way to make payroll, and that was through the CDB, through the line usage fund. Since that time, we've existed on the garbage collection. We do have garbage bill to pay too. Right now, we've been living off the garbage collection. That is how we're paying any of the bills that we're paying right now, is through the garbage collection. We're not out of the woods yet. One of the things that I had on the counter over there was a budget, and hopefully everybody picked up a copy of it and had a chance to look through it. That this budget is my best estimate as to what this city can do and what we can do with it. I excluded the proprietary funds that we cannot spend, such as the line usage fund, from the budget. But even still, I used very realistic numbers for a millage. These are numbers that came from our Treasury Department. I used very real numbers for the expenses. And in the end, I'm showing that we will come out with something to the positive of about $160,000 at the end of the year. That doesn't make it any easier for making payroll this next time, or from now till the time that we have our real estate taxes start coming in. We are still in great peril. There is no doubt about that. What I'm asking the city to do is to give me a chance. I could have pulled the ripcord and said, we can't do this, we're going to go Act 47 on my very first day. I made no such attempt. That is not where I'm going. That's not what I have any intention of doing. If at the end of the year that I'm unable to deliver and unable to provide that which the city needs, a good stable government, and it falls on its face, I will take the blame for it. And I have no intention of falling on my face. I really want this city to survive. I want it to survive, thrive, and prosper. It all is based on what I said in my very first meeting. It's all about equity and prosperity, and we've got to get there. And that's where I'm going. So, 24 days into it, give me a chance, we'll get there. Is there anybody else like to talk about the SNAP program or Act 47?
I do think we should give you the opportunity, Ron. I've talked to you a couple of different occasions, and you seem to have a good grasp of the situation. So I am more than willing to work with you to make this happen.
Thank you. The next thing is, we talked about it a little bit, was the hiring of a city administrator. And with the advice of our DCED rep, Mike Foreman, I agree, we need to pay attention to where we advertise, how we advertise. I do want to stress, we need to do it quickly. This city's drowning without any help. Now, we have had some very interesting proposals for a temporary interim type administrator to help us. There's two different things that have come up with this, several different possibilities. I haven't discounted them, but right now our problem is we're having trouble making payroll for those that we already have on payroll. We got to be very careful where we spend our dollars the next couple of weeks, and by the same token, time is of the essence. We got to get a city administrator. So it is something that I want to bring forward. Hopefully we can get some advertisements going quickly. Hopefully we can get a response quickly. Hopefully we can get moving on this, or figure out a way to get an interim guy on board that we can afford soon. It's critical. Anybody else have anything want to say about that?
She's nailed it right on the head.
Also, what we're going to be talking about next time, we talked about a little bit, but the PNC interim loan for the USDA project will be upon us. We will need to create an ordinance. We will need to accept the terms of that agreement and so forth. And let me say, I am just pleased to death that this is finally happening. That this all started 10, 12 years ago with Lou Mavrekas. But it really culminated when the USDA granted us a loan of $15 million almost a year and a half ago. It turns out that the loan is not so easily done because the USDA will give you the money once the project is completed. In other words, you have to come up with an interim loan that pays for all the engineering, that pays for all the construction, and when you're finally done, the USDA comes in and pays that loan off. And now you're off and running for a 40-year low-cost loan. The city had gone out numerous times to many different banks and had failed in being able to find any bank that would do that loan. Well, we finally have success. I think that that's a testament to the work that we've been doing here. But anyway, we will be talking about that. We'll be voting on that this next meeting. One of the things that we talked about too, and I don't want to beat this to death, but this tax forgiveness program has really blown up in a lot of different ways. And the Westmoreland County Recorder of Deeds, Tax Claim Office, contacted the solicitor, and he and I both went to Greensburg, and we were hopeful that they were going to tell us how they're going to solve all our problems. But instead, what they introduced was a whole big basket full of bigger problems that we were unaware of. So there's a lot of work to do there. I did talk to Dr. Spazak and the school system, and that is really where this is all going. The city has already relinquished the taxes on all these properties. And there's about 44 of them that have been done thus far. There's another 50 or 60 on the desk upstairs that are waiting to be done. The point being is, solicitor of the school system and our solicitor will be working together this next week. Hopefully we can come up with a plan and a common agreement that satisfies everybody, that we can finally get the school taxes abolished and go along with the city, and the county will do whatever the school and the county say. There was a lot of problems with this program, but the theory behind it was very good. It's an excellent idea. It's a great way to get some of these blighted properties back on the tax rolls. These blighted properties, I had been going to senators and congressmen trying to find money to demolish these blighted properties, and yet here we've got investors that are willing to turn them around and turn them into taxable properties. There's a lot of tax money that's being given up, but we're never going to see it any other way. It's just not going to happen. And this is an opportunity to get rid of a lot of those houses. So all those people that are invested in this tax forgiveness program, bear with us. We're working on it. We will solve it. And I think it'll be great for everybody very soon. We talked a little bit about the CDBG consulting. There are, you asked about Walt Taglin, and I don't necessarily have a problem with him, but there are many other consultants out there that do that same work for considerably less money. And I would like to see at least some competition in that arena to see exactly what we do going forward. That was the purpose of what we were running our advertisements for. There's also a PIN, get it right, PIN Strategies. They will be here on our February the 24th meeting. They are one of the groups that I've been talking to that I think have a lot of possibility to bring new and great things to this city. I was hopeful they would get here before that, but it looks like they'll be here on our February the 24th meeting, our second meeting in February. And I invite everybody to come to that meeting. I think you'll find it very interesting, some of the ideas and opportunities that they will make available to us. Anybody have anything else you want to talk about? Get on the agenda for next 2 weeks from now?
I'm looking forward to that meeting. I'd like to see what they are all about.
With that,
You want to hear from one of the interim managers?
well, there's two people I would really like to hear from, and this is public comment. I didn't have them on the agenda before this, so I couldn't really put them any other place. But before we open it up to the general public, I would like to hear from one of the interim manager that made a proposal to us, if you'd like to address the council.
Good evening. My name is Jason Bailey, and I was approached by DCED, asked if I would get in touch with the mayor to provide, submit an interim proposal for administrator services for the city. I have experience in local government, around 25 years worth of experience, both as a municipal manager in Allegheny County for 2 different municipalities there. My most recent stint has been as the utilities director for Cranberry Township in Butler County. As of February 1st, I'll be getting into full-time consulting as my work in this area has taken off over the last few years. So I've tendered my resignation at Cranberry, and I'll be doing full-time consulting work for local government. The proposal that you all have, and I'm not sure if you all have that proposal in front of you or not, but it essentially was to provide hours throughout the week for the administrative side of working through the issues that you've all really discussed here this evening. Everything from dealing with the finances, a lot of the things that you all are dealing with on an everyday basis right now are really the responsibility of a city administrator. You're in the unfortunate circumstance right now of not having a professional in that role right now, so you're all doing the best that you can in order to do that. And you should be commended for stepping into that role in the absence of that administrator. The proposal was, you know, you know, I had heard from the mayor there that, you know, your finances are very tight right now. I do understand that. You know, services like mine, you know, you do have a cost to them, of course. And getting into this full-time myself, I realize what you know, what I'm up against as well to you know, to keep food on my own table. So, but I do this type of work. I'm also acting as an interim manager right now for a water authority. And then aside from the interim work, I do projects where I help communities evaluate their operations, find grant money, write those grants. You know, I've done the bookkeeping side of municipal operations as well as, again, general management. But you know, I really just wanted to provide you all with, you know, number one, introduce myself, but if there was any questions at all that you might have about the proposal or about any of the items that were identified in that, I'm here to answer those questions for you.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Can I ask you?
Certainly. Public comment.
How much would you charge the city?
Sure. So the hourly rate's $125 an hour with a not-to-exceed clause is $6,500 a month.
That's a real steep, $6,500. And then number two, what happens if you grow into Monessen and then we all decide that you're our man? Are you going to drop all these other free lands?
I won't be your man. No, I promise you I won't be your man. I left I left a full-time job to start my own consulting operation, and I strictly want to provide interim services like this in this capacity, as well as do project work. But typically, someone in my capacity will come in and organize the unorganized. I will, take care of, managing staff, all the HR issues, all the bookkeeping issues that right now the elected officials are currently handling. So that is my purpose. So my intent is never to come in to say, I'd like for you to try me out to be your full-time manager. That's never going to be my intent.
Yeah. It's like going into a stream, and then halfway into the stream, you go your way and you go our way.
Ernie, I think part of the idea behind that was that we'd have us a professional person in here that could help us train and get on board a long-term person. At least that was my thinking.
But in the proposals, my contact information, feel free to give me a call, drop me an email if you have any questions after you have a chance to review it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Matt Urim still here? He left.
He left.
Any other public comments?
Motion number 11.
First off, your name and so we know the record.
Lou Mavrikis, 14 Westmoreland Drive. Motion 11 to accept Penvest.
So we all hear you well?
Do what?
Can you turn the volume over here?
That microphone doesn't work
It
anyway.
does.
It does.
It does, you talk into it.
We're almost going to solve it.
Motion number 11 to accept Penvest for $2,370,000. You said that equates to $3 on line usage. Does that mean you're going to raise line usage $3 or it's on the current $27?
No, it'll come out of the existing funds. That was part of the plan for the $27.
And the PNC intimate loan for U.S. Department of Agriculture amount,
That'll be for $15 million.
and that'll come out of the 27,000 line usage?
Actually, what that'll do is it will have no payments until it matures, till we get finished. That project will go for, 32 months?
I think they bumped to 36 months.
Okay, 36 months. We're talking a very short period, 3 years. They'll come in, they'll accrue interest and so forth, and we can pay as much as we can with the line usage money. There's no doubt about that. But at the end of that project, the USDA comes in and buys that contract out. They pay for that contract. So now all the funds go to USDA, which is a 40-year loan. And that's where the $27 gets paid.
Does the council foresee raising the line usage, being the fact that it's broke at this point?
Well, it's not completely broke. There are some issues associated with the line usage fund. There's no doubt about that. But if you look at what the expenses are to that line usage fund, there's a lot of it that's been taking care of storm drains and the like for the last several years. And it's been paying a lot of engineering fees to WEC Engineering. As soon as we get funded, that money that was paid to WEC will get put back into the line usage fee fund for payment of the loan. So there is some money that's unaccounted for, there's no doubt. We're talking several $100,000 with unaccounted for money. That is money that we will have to make up, there's no doubt.
When you say you have to make it up, we're not talking about raising line usage, though.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question. Attorney Delfonso, can you reiterate how much money we're expecting to get within a couple of months? You said there's $15 million that...
For the sewage project?
Yeah, and also a 2.1 million?
2.3.
2.3? So, when this money comes in, how far ahead would the city be? Would you be in the
That-
black?
that's
Would you be in the black?
That's not going to improve the city's overall financial picture. That's gonna allow the city to fix the sewage lines. That money's not gonna be spent anywhere else but on the sewage.
Okay, but you're gonna get that back at the $15 million, right?
But no, that $15 million is all for the sewer.
Yeah, so there were, the engineer fees for the design of all phases of the sewage projects, they're reimbursable from the grants and the loans once they come in, but the city had to pay the engineer something up front. So the line usage fund will be replenished for those items.
How far into the future would that happen?
Well, the construction phase is 36 months. It's going to be fast. 3 years.
3 years from now?
3 years from April or May, yes.
So how Penvest and the USDA loans will work, the city will submit requisitions from the engineer to get payments. It acts like a drawdown account, right? So it's likely at the beginning of that project, there'll be a reimbursement for the engineering services that were already paid for or need to be paid for the design work.
Okay, so we're gonna get some money before the 3 years.
It's gonna go directly to the line usage fund, and I don't know if the city paid WEC out of the general fund or not, but if they did for some of these services related to these projects only, it would be likely you could reimburse the general fund as well. I don't know that, but that's just a potential.
There's hope that it will. But I'm also very realistic. The sewer in itself is not going to fix the problems of Monessen. There are a lot of houses here that have had issues with the sewer system. Sinkholes, collapsed lines, sewage coming back into the house. There's been some horrific stories of sewer line failures, and this will fix those so that we don't continue to have those. But it's interesting, and I don't get off on a different subject, but many years ago they invested some $7.5 million on a bond that we're paying for the next 15 plus years, $500,000 every year. It's one of the things that slows the city down. But in theory, the bond was really put forth to make fundamental infrastructure improvements to the city. It gave us improvements to the library, it built us a new police station. It cleaned up our parks, it made our parks much nicer. The thing that really disturbs me, though, is if you look at the graph on the decline in population, normally you'd expect these things to cause it to more people to come into town. It didn't. It didn't even provide a bump on the line. It's just a gradual decline in population. And that means that we've got to look other ways to build this city back up again.
Yeah, and that is, we have to boost our economy.
We have to boost our economy. We've got to fix the school system. We've got to do lots of different things.
Just one last thing. You're talking all tonight about banking on this, like Mike Foreman. Why don't you put a motion to hire a marketing director?
That's a lot about what Penn's strategies will be on February 24th. When he comes February 24th, I think you guys will be surprised.
All right, I'll be looking forward to it.
Me too. State your name and address, too.
Good evening. My name is Randall Marino, 100 McKee Avenue. I'm going to say Monessen, but I think you all realize we're all here from Monessen. This was not my intent coming to this meeting to make this statement, but the last council meeting I was at was at 7 or 8 years ago, and I watched one or two on video. As a citizen, this makes me feel a little confident that maybe we're going to be able to move forward. You know, I like the calm demeanor of us, trying to work together, and then hopefully then us citizens, we can all do our part. So definitely compliments to the folks up there. We appreciate it. But as this gentleman said here, and you have a lot bigger things to worry about than what I'm going to talk about, a lot bigger things. As this gentleman here said, somebody said. Well, that's why I'm here, because somebody said something, and I want to make sure that there's no misunderstandings. I know there's been a movement and a discussion about putting a dog park in Monessen, and again, and I know that is minutia in our problems, but the discussion was a nonprofit that I work for, Mon Valley Paws, is raising money for it.
I mentioned at the last meeting that, there's some nonprofit working, and Rosemary was down here, and I think she's working with you guys as
Yes.
well.
You just take and pass one of those on. Please, if anyone has donated to the dog park through Mon Valley Paws, you've been scammed, okay? Because Mon Valley Paws has not raised a cent for a dog park. On the back of those business cards that are coming around there, around the room, is our social media. And you go on there and you'll never ever see anything about a dog park. That's not saying that these folks aren't interested, but this group is not raising any money for that. This group is raising money for the Guardian Angels medical service dogs, 4 shelters and rescues, Angel Ridge, Husky Paws, Fur Kids, and Pet Search. We see Chief Uhas in the back. We bought the City of Monessen Police Department a scanner, a microchip scanner. We've, through our partnership with Pet Supply Plus, we've moved 3.5 tons of food. We've donated to people in shelters and rescues. We donated to the Kentucky Tornado Fund to help, with some of their issues. We've established a senior citizen grant, and it's on our website. And if you're a senior citizen and you have a pet and you run into high costs for veterinary care, there is a way that you can receive some funding for that. So again, like this gentleman said, somebody said, I don't want 2 years from now someone to call me and say, hey Randy, where's the money for the dog park? Because there's no money for the dog park in this nonprofit. Okay? But thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Good evening. My name is Josh Turkovich. I reside at 1233 Reeves Avenue. I'm the owner of Mon Valley Phone Repair on the corner of 3rd and Schoonamaker. This evening, first I'd like to commend the Streets and Department for the overall city snow removal. But as a business owner down in the downtown district, I do have a question, and my question is, at what point does the parking areas along both Schoonamaker and Donner become a priority? So after the snowfall, it was about 2 days after, and the areas where customers would pull in and pull out, where like the metered parking would be at, it still wasn't cleaned up. I had a question out to one of the council members, and they said maybe I should come to the meeting. So my question just is that, at what point does that become a priority?
Lois, do you have anything to say about that?
You have to tell you that I can hardly hear anybody talking when they're there. I can't hardly hear anybody talking from phone comments at all.
Sorry, the Josh Turkovich asked about the cleaning of the street side parking along Donner and Schoonmaker. When does that become a priority?
When you say street side parking,
Yes.
Where the main, you talking about the main street parking?
Yes. Right now they clean the middle of the streets, but there's many of the areas that's hard to get up against the curb to park.
Well, I guess if there's cars there, they're not, it depends on if there are cars there or not. Because I know if there are cars parked there at the time they're coming through, they're not going to be able to do the street stuff.
Thing is, actually, there's no cars in front of your establishment at a certain time. I know it's bare there.
Yeah, I mean,
closed.
so not only just at mine, my establishment.
Well, here's the thing, Josh. If there's an issue, all you would have to do is call down City Hall, and they can let Rodney know that you're asking or requesting that.
So I mean, I'm not personally asking for myself. I'm just asking as business owners in general. On Donner, on Schoonamaker. I mean, even so in front of the Torn Page where Jerry owns. He has like a walkway into the Torn Page, and that's it. So this is my thing. If I have a female who is a banker, she needs a phone repair. she's going to come, trample through the snow, and then onto a clean sidewalk into my building. Is she going to do that in her flats or bring snow boots because she knows the situation? Or is she going to take her business to Ross Straver, where she can walk straight into a store from a clean parking lot? So, you know, so, I mean, maybe it's something that just needs to be talked about and addressed. But like, this is, you know, this is my concern. It's just not myself, but, you know, as all the business owners in the downtown area.
I live downtown,
Yeah,
and you see my property, the car's like this, my mom's disabled, and it's a pain to get, you know, get her out of the vehicle because your car is tilted the other way because of the snow ramp, pretty much I would call that, you know. If it's okay with you, Lois, I can see where their cars are in the way, you know, that could be a problem, but where your residence or your establishment, there's no cars at a certain time. So if you don't mind, I'll talk to, I don't want to jump over your head, but I'll talk to Rodney and see if that's okay for him to start getting the crew to start shoveling that area.
I mean,
and
yeah,
find a safe location to store that snow, so it's not getting pushed back onto 906 or covering up the sidewalks. And then have to worry about the state coming in and PennDOT shoveling in that area.
Sure, I mean, and that's fine, you know, and like I said, you know, it's not just in the second and third. I mean, if you go, you know, this street here, even, you know, for instance, there's just, you know, I mean, there's businesses that we're open for our customers, but we have to be mindful of our customers, you know, from a city standpoint. And I sometimes, and residents as well, and I sometimes think that may get overlooked easily. So.
Well, this snow was really an eye-opener. We've been pretty lucky the last few years. When this snow hit, it was it's significant. It's still hanging around. Here it's been a couple weeks and we still got snow out there. It's been cold, and it's likely to continue to be that way. I think the street department's done an excellent job. Is there always going to be more work for them to do? Absolutely.
Sure. Right. And I think one of the things, I don't know if everyone's aware, at the time of the big snowstorm, when they had the first snowstorm, several of the trucks went down that very same night.
Right.
So instead of them having 4 trucks to run, they only were running on 2. So immediately after that snowstorm, they had to put 2 of those trucks plus the big truck of Park Plan had already been at the garage, so they never had that truck at the time of the snowstorm. So they only were working with 2 trucks during that major snowstorm.
And did an excellent job at that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Hearing none, I'd like to see if I can get a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, motion to adjourn today's meeting, January 27th, 2022, at 8:38, sorry, p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.